their bloom offer for young people with special educational needs and disabilities. And I'm just going to share a couple of slides just to begin with, just to do some um, housekeeping and share some other bits and pieces. So just bear with me 1 second whilst I remember how to do this. Right, there we go. So yeah, thank you everybody. And just as a reminder, if you haven't been to one of these sessions before, they're all recorded, and we will share them with you after the event. And all of the events that we've run like this are all hosted on our local offer website. Um, as a general rule, everyone's mics and cameras should be turned off, although I think sometimes we have some anomalies, so I don't know what I've done with the settings. Thanks, Amy. Um, and that's really just because we're recording it, it's just so that everybody feels comfortable about what's shared afterwards. But the chat is open, so please ask any questions as Sarah is presenting in the chat, and we'll pick all of those up during the session. So feel free to pop in anything that you would like there. And we'll aim to finish either by 1:30, but possibly before as well. And I just want to share a couple of other things, and I will post some links in the chat so that you have easy access to all of this information. But we have very recently republished our post-16 guide for young people. So this guide has the offer at post-16 at level 2 and below in the city, all in one place. It is designed not just for young people with special educational needs, but for any young person where their path after GCSEs is not that well-trodden path, or where things maybe need a little bit more planning. So all of the curriculum offer is in there. So please use that and share it with anyone that you feel it would be helpful for. And it is on our local offer. And like I said, I will pop the link in the chat to that in a moment. And like I said, all of these sessions are hosted on the local offer for you to go back, watch the recordings of me possibly not being able to use technology. Oh, I think Sarah has been disconnected. So we will hope that Sarah returns very soon. But yeah, all of our previous events are available on the local offer here. So we've run a series, as you can see. So we started with one that was just around preparation for adulthood in its broadest sense. What does it mean? What does it look like at different ages and stages? In this session, we also talked about supported internships, which are a work-based study program for young people with an education, health and care plan. And they're designed to be the kind of last stop before a young person moves into work. Then we had Hazy Wareham join us from the Sheffield Sendias service, and she talked all about the plethora of support that they can offer young people and families from a legal point of view. We then had preparation for adulthood social care, who talked about how social care works, moving from children's into adults, what it looks like in an adult world. And that was really, really informative. We learned all about independent travel training and the service offer that they have, and how it works and how young people can be supported by their families as well with travel training. We then heard from Sheffield's family hubs, who shared all about their offer, which obviously starts at birth, and a lot of it is about the early years, but they do have other things which are relevant as young people get closer to adulthood. And then the most recent session we had was with Sheffield MenCap, where they came and presented on their offer as well. So if you go on to this web page, you'll be able to see all of the recordings of the sessions, as well as the resources that were shared, the PowerPoints, there's notes, all those kinds of things. So please do use them. Please share them so that other people can access the information as well. And all of the sessions as well, as you'll know, because you booked onto this one, are all available to book on Eventbrite. Hello, Sarah. Very glad to see that you're back. I've managed to keep talking at the time that you've been away. So in a couple of weeks' time, we've got a session with Opportunity Sheffield. We've then got the Shared Live service to come and talk about what they offer. We have a session in May with the DWP, and then we will be wrapping it up for this academic year in July with Autism Plus, who are a supported employment service. I will be asking for your feedback at the end of the session today. Please let me know who else you would like to see take part in one of these sessions, and we will certainly endeavour to invite anyone that you feel would be helpful for you to hear from. And yeah, if you would be kind enough at the end of the session to fill out your feedback, that would be very helpful for me. So, very glad that you're back, Sarah. Um, Sarah, if you would, I suppose, like to introduce yourself and share your presentation, and um, we will have question and answers at the end. And I see that you've asked a question in the chat. So yeah, can people let Sarah know what areas of post-16 provision they are interested in? And Sarah, I will share anything that people share in the chat as well with you.
Smashing. So first of all, Maria, I'm so glad that I told you that there was likely to be an interruption, because then literally right on cue, as if by magic, there's an interruption. So I apologise in advance. We're now connected to my phone, so just pray that we have a decent internet connection for the remainder of our conversation together. It's lovely to not meet you all, because you're all just a little blob on a screen, but it's lovely to be here. My name is Sarah Legood. I'm the Assistant Principal for Inclusion, Learning Support and the Development of the Specialist Provision at the Sheffield College. I've been here a couple of years, and I'm going to kind of go through what we've done so far to get us to the point where we are now, and talk a little bit about why this for me is such an incredible opportunity, and why I came to work at the college in the first place, really. So Bloom is the result of a piece of collaborative development work between the local authority and the college, which has spanned over the last kind of 2.5 years. And I was tasked with doing some analysis. Why do we need this curriculum in the first place? Now, I won't go into very much of this data and information in a lot of detail, but what I wanted to explain to you all is that the curriculum that we have on offer is based in really detailed and national research. So we've probably all, through a variety of medium or a variety of activities, understand that the kind of the rise of young people with complex needs, with learning difficulties and disabilities, and with a whole variety of other impacting factors, mean that specialist education has an essential place in the world. And the challenges around that, particularly at the moment, are around the context of there being exponential growth across the nation, and whether we can actually sustain that nationally with the budget that it requires. So my particular area of interest is to look at how we can develop local authority wide solutions which are effective and efficient and are genuinely collaborative. So we don't need lots of organisations that all do the same thing. We need organisations to work collaboratively to create the solutions that are effective in the longer term for learners. My aspiration is that through the curriculum offer at the Sheffield College, and if I have the opportunity to impact or influence through the rest of the world, that we take learners through a learning experience which enables them to make life choices and to lead gloriously boring lives like the rest of us do, because that is unfortunately one of the aspirations and one of the elements of adult life that many young people don't get to do. And so we've used a whole series of data. We've got a significant number of learners in the college who have an education, health and care plan. This year we have about 640 young people who get high needs funding. Our retention's really good, so when we engage learners, we tend to keep them, and our progression routes tend to be strong, so learners can go off into either higher levels of study, the world of work, a kind of foundation apprenticeship, or a supported internship. And we've tried to look at our curriculum pathways, and that's what I'm going to kind of explain to you in a little bit more detail. So we got the kind of working relationship with our local authority, we evaluated what was happening inside the college and looked at what was different from the rest of the offer. So we realised that there's a real need to create that detailed scaffolded opportunity around understanding what employment is available in the local area. And every local authority has a local skills improvement plan. And really interestingly, that's driven by the main industries. It is not, however, driven through the lens of inclusive employment. So although we could be working in an area, for example, where they want to look at sustainability or environmental science, that then is not enhanced to look at, well, who are the learners with learning difficulties, disabilities or inclusion needs, which would be ideal to work in this industry. And that's a real frustration of mine. We looked at the Sheffield disability employment rate, which unfortunately is lower than the national average at 4.8%, and we believe we have a responsibility to work in that. And we also looked at the fact that Sheffield does have disproportionately high numbers of young people with SEN who are also NEET. And that's a project that I'm already trying to work on and support the college and local authority to work innovatively and to kind of create opportunities for those young people. So once we looked at the local priorities, we then looked nationally. So much more qualification reform is due, and there's a real piece of evaluation work at level 2 and below at the moment, looking at are work skills qualifications useful, are future choices, and are the kind of qualifications for learners who are studying at the level that my learners are studying at, are they useful? And do they actually give a young person an opportunity to execute and practice skills to develop the knowledge, skills and behaviours that go into work? At the moment, not all qualifications do. So we've adopted quite a radical approach for this year and next year, which I will explain to you, but we're using what's called a RAPA approach, which is the recognition and recording of personal attainment. So it's not driven by qualifications, it's driven by learners' starting points. We also looked at national strategies. So obviously there's still the kind of the tail end of the supported internship work that's been happening, which is that we wanted to double the number of supported internships by 2025. And there is still work to do on that. And so I'm working with the local authority, particularly Maria, on that. And that really looking at that disability employment gap, what does that look like and feel like? How do we need to change what we do to ensure that young people are ready for the world of work? And at the moment, we've obviously all got the national challenge, which is the SEND white paper and the consultation that's out at the moment, and the thematic changes around that. And one of those significant thematic challenges for me is the removal of SEMH from the lens of SEN. And I think that's something that I'm particularly keen to explore more and to understand, because the majority of my young people have a learning difficulty or disability, but in the main, it's their SEMH that prevents them from accessing education, and we have to work very differently and start from their starting point. So there's something interesting around that. What about one of our massive challenges, and again, it's not just for me as a college, it's for every further education provider, is there's a real lack of SEN specialist staffing, and that's something that as a college we're really trying to work on, and that we need to really map very clearly our curriculum with the curriculum of special schools, so that people understand from pathway to pathway how learners transition and progress from one to the other. Our huge opportunities are that the local authority have been working with us on the development of our Peaks campus. So currently I have relationships, I have learners working from both our Hillsborough campus and the Peaks campus, but our Hillsborough campus has got limited capacity and limited numbers because I've got limited spaces, so I can't grow that provision. But at Peaks, we've got a whole campus, and the campus has been recreated very deliberately with the needs of young people in mind. And those needs mean that we've now got 2 fully accessible kitchens, we've got a beautiful sensory space, we've got lots of teaching spaces. We are launching the running of a inclusive conference centre, which will be a work experience placement for learners. We've got an attic, which has got not like a drafty attic with cobwebs in it and horrible old stuff. It's a performance space, so it's sports, performance, a whole variety of different activities can be done in there to kind of broaden the curriculum offer and take us away from classroom-based learning. So we looked for feedback. So we've worked with our authority, we've worked with employers, and we've worked with students and their parents and carers. The alignment of personalised learning was really key. So the embedding of RAPA as an approach and a detailed initial assessment assessment for learners starting point, and then personalised targets, which is what we now deliver, to look at the kind of broader curriculum and make sure that we're able to support learners to develop the resilience and self-management skills they need for those gloriously boring lives, and to really help people understand that our curriculum offer is not going to be conventional. We're not going to take you through level 1 plumbing to level 2 plumbing to level 3 plumbing. We're going to give you the options of developing the knowledge, skills and behaviours that may well take you into that curriculum pathway, but it may also take you directly into the world of work and then develop skills as you go. So we've taken lots of steps in response to what they've said. We've redesigned our curriculum. We've developed the ability to expand our offer at peaks. We've got really good working relationships and partnerships with employers. We've got lots and lots of enhancement in our student support offer. So we've got a team of specialist pastoral staff who support our learners and parents and carers, and we've got lots of employer engagement. However, if any of you are employers or know employers would like to engage with us and give opportunity to learners, please feel free to contact me afterwards, because any opportunity that I can get to get people through our door to come and talk to our students about what's expected would be absolutely magic. So the first boxes are the smaller boxes are the curriculum offer that we had previously. So it was work skills, it was pathway to work, independent living and personal progress. Working with our learners, we actually then recreated those into future choices and a pathway around future choices. We've developed an independent living pathway and we've developed a work skills pathway. These do not run in a linear fashion. So a learner can come to us on future choices, do 1 year or 2 years with us on future choices and progress to an alternative path. Because you start on one doesn't mean you're going to stay on that. Really key. Now, when people say what are the entry requirements, the entry requirements are, do you want to come to college and study a personalised pathway because you've got a learning disability? Generally, our learners would be rarely studying English and maths at level 2, but we do have some students who are studying at level 2, but we would generally be engaging with learners with learning disability. That's the key. Our intended progression routes are either into higher level study into a specific subject. So it may be that you go off and do hospitality and catering because you want to work in that industry. It may well be that you study that at entry 3 or level 1 or at level 2. That you would then potentially do a foundation apprenticeship. They are just in development now and we'll be offering them in construction and in childcare next year. Or that you're ready for work. So you'd either do work experience with us to be work ready, and then you might progress onto a supported internship. So I think if people want a very simple flow chart of how a learner is going to progress through this, it's impossible to give you, because it starts with the learner, their aspiration, their starting point, and we then develop the provision with them and with their circles of support to meet their needs. So it's not as conventional as you're going to do 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It kind of progresses more independently. The whole ethos around everything that we offer is that we should be doing all of our learning by doing. So if you need to, or your aspiration is to be able to cook a meal for 4 people, we will work with you on who are the 4 people, how are you going to get them there, what are you going to cook for them, what's the shopping list. Let's go to Asda, let's buy the shopping. All the supermarkets are available. Let's go shopping, buy the stuff, come back. How are you going to make it? What chopping board are you going to use? How are you going to clean up? What does that look like and feel like? So it is very much a learning through doing activity and opportunity. And that means that some learners may take a lot longer to progress than others, because we can only work at their pace in their way. All of our classes are in small groups of between 8 and 10 learners at the maximum. All of our learning groups have at least 1 learning support assistant in them, if not 2, plus a teacher. We have embedded this year the ability for young people to receive speech and language therapy support. In the main, that's not direct speech and language therapy from a therapist. We would have an assessment with a therapist. They would then do a plan of support. And in the main,
And it's, oh,
very differently.
We lost you for a second, Sarah.
Oh, where did we get to?
Um, I'm not sure. Um, Wait, it was only for like 10 seconds or
We
so.
took. Okay, so I think I was talking about how we'd embedded speech and
Yes,
language
embedding
therapy
speech
into
and
our
language.
curriculum offer.
Yes. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have speech and language therapists who are working with us to make sure that young people's voices are heard. They've explained to us what they need, or we've worked with them on developing what they need, and then we embed that into our teaching, learning, and assessment practice. Some learners do get speech and language therapy out of class, or they'll get an opportunity to practice those skills, but in the main, it's delivered through our teaching and learning. We've kind of tried to iterate what the curriculum should look like. So generally on Pathways in year one, it should be about learning, whether that's learning what career you want to have, whether it's learning what your starting point is, whether it's learning about self-management and what the impact of your autism or learning disability is. That would be the start of the year. And we would usually start with about 6 to 8 weeks of quite intensive assessment. What can learners do independently? What do they think they want to do independently? And what's the gap? In year two, we would then work on knowing. So is that skill and that knowledge consolidated? Schema, can they reach into their mind and know what they need to do? So if we've done, for example, we're working with the independent travel training team, if they've done travel training, but in that travel training process or in the independent process of traveling, something goes wrong, do they consistently know what to do to put that right? Do they know how to get out of a situation? And then the doing is very much that consolidated, working as independently as possible in a scenario. So all of that's kind of in place, and all of that we're working on knowing, learning, knowing, and doing. And that's all around the knowledge, skills, and behaviours. So again, it's not necessarily a qualification that's saying a learner can do it. It's because they have either a one-page profile which explains what their current skills are. They may have a video CV to say what they're interested in and what they do. Or if you're going to work with them on a supported internship, they would almost have that luxurious year-long interview where you as an employer or you as a placement can see their skills. So that's the aspiration. This all works on a matrix-based timetable, so learners pick and mix from our matrix to build a personalised timetable. So again, we don't really have groups that operate as a traditional group and spend all their time together as a group. This is about improving the wider experience. So we always look at things through the lens of attendance, because generally learners who attend well achieve well and make swifter progress. We do occasionally are able to offer digital platforms and digital kind of blended learning, and we use something called Padlet to track learners' progress. But we will try as much as we can to embed technology into learners' learning, and that often takes them into the world of work. So to be able to use effectively use the tools around inclusive practice that are embedded within Microsoft to be able to manage your calendar and all of those things. We've got the Sheffield College guarantee, so that's about really working with employers and making sure that every learner has work-related activity so that they understand the world of work. And then we work on providing lots of pastoral support. So we have student mentors and personal tutors. On site, we have mental health first aiders, and we have quite a lot of additional staffing in Bloom provision to make sure that learners are able to access support outside class. RAPA, which is the recording and recognition of personal attainment. So our learners would have 6 to 8 targets, and those 6 to 8 targets are tracked throughout the year. Usually they can be aligned to an education, health and care plan, but not all of our learners have an EHCP, and we wouldn't expect them to. That isn't a requirement of being a learner in Bloom. And the bespoke element of it is that we can flex timetables, so we can start learners on smaller timetables and gradually build them up. Our supported internship timetables are varied, so we've got some learners who learn purely in an employment setting. We've got some learners who do 2 days in college and 1 day in an employment setting, and then that gradually changes over time. And all of our learners have an opportunity to use assistive technology, and we're just reviewing our curriculum offer particularly around AI and recognising the potential, but also the risk around using AI, so that learners are aware in their personal lives how they need to make sure that they are kind of safe and healthy, and they remain aware in our digital age. And then lastly, the supported internships are the only bit where we actually need an EHCP, but we do offer a kind of work ready pathway, which doesn't necessarily have an EHCP requirement. So if you've got young people who are thinking about progressing to us, or you're interested in discussing that, if you just get in touch with us, we'll talk you through what the kind of the options are and what that looks like. So I'm going to pause there, Maria, because I am also very aware that I've talked for 20 minutes and just spewed the inside of my brain. So I'll just pause, and then I'm just going to look at what people popped in the chat.
Yeah, great, Sarah. Thank you. I'll just give you a moment to have a read through. But if anyone does have any questions for Sarah at this point, feel free to start adding them to the chat. Sarah, it's always so inspiring to listen to you talk. And I think the thing for me is, I suppose, understanding what you offer in terms of that. Is it RAPA framework that you talk about? And just how it's a very it's a very, I don't trying to moderate my Irish accent and how I say it, but it's just a very different way of like looking at curriculum, I think, isn't it, to what we're used to in that kind of normal school type environment.
So RAPA was created a long time ago, and it's used really effectively, and lots of specialist settings use it really effectively. You know, in my experience, having done this for a really long time, and I also led one of the Department for Education SEND Centres for Excellence in Curriculum and Curriculum Building for many years, to kind of work with people. In my experience, no employer ever has said to a young person, bring me your entry level 3 certificate in work skills to prove your knowledge, skills and behaviours in work.
Yeah.
So this is a totally flexible way of personalising provision, of recognising that, you know, we have about 210 learners in Bloom, and we will have spaces for 250 learners next year. And every one of those learners is a unique individual with a unique starting point. And I think one of the things I picked up from the comments is struggling with gaining many GCSEs. A conventional GCSE route is not the right route for many young people. And so this creates the flexibility to do that. The other thing I would say is, I've always been very cautious since 2014 and the SEN Code of Practice was born. And it's really that understanding that there is a finite amount of time young people should be in further education, and it is not till they are 25. It is until they have stopped making significant academic progress in order to reach their life goals. And so young people cannot expect to be in education until they're 25. And why would we spend the time we've got with them trying to get them to do a GCSE again and again and again, if actually the life skills they need are to be able to shop independently, or be safe in a public space, or be able to make a doctor's appointment? You know, they're the underpinning skills for me, and the RAPA process gives us that flexibility. If students do have an EHCP, we would always work on kind of a mix of the students' aspirations alongside what is it that you want to be doing and when. So, you know, would you like a part-time job? If you want a part-time job, what would your ideal be? And then, because many of my students have had very limited life experiences, quite often we make an assumption about their capacity, which is not based in reality. And that can go both ways. So that can be, students can start with us and we think we're getting young people who are, you know, through our initial assessment and our onboarding process, it appears that they are far more independent than they can actually deliver when they get here. But similarly, we've got young people who are quite anxious and quite nervous, and parents and carers who are very understandably extraordinarily protective because their young person is vulnerable. And they have got skills and knowledge that we had no clue that they'd got. And they bring a whole set of skills and knowledge, behaviour, meaning we can work through their aspirations much more quickly and get them to their destination, within 1 year or 2 years. They could be on a kind of a regular college course across the college, studying whatever they want to study, or they've recognised that they're not going to do these bits of the qualifications. So we would work with them on a work experience placement and job carve for them because, for example, they're never going to want to handle the money, but they can do everything else involved in a role. So we would work with an employer, a placement, to job carve that part of the stressful part away and leave them with the best bits of what they are capable of doing. I'm just going to look. How do
So
people enroll at Broome? What would be the
shall I?
criteria?
Oh, I'm talking over you. I'm just think, Sarah, if I read them out to you just for the sake of the recording, um, how do pupils enroll at Bloom? What would the
So
criteria,
the
what would be the criteria they need to fulfill, and can their current education setting put them forward?
yes, so most students apply through is it called Sheffield Direct? But you can apply
Sheffield
through our
Progress.
college website, and that's it, Sheffield Progress. So that's one method. You can apply through our website. If you wanted to look at arranging a visit, and at the moment we are very limited for space at our Hillsborough campus, so it would be learners who are either supported to travel to us or are able to get to Peaks. The Peaks campus is actually right on the tram stop. So we've got really great relationship with the supported travel and the travel training team as well. So if that's something your young person aspires to, we're a great venue for that. I'll put an email address in the chat. So the email address I'm putting there is for Tom Fuller, and Tom is one of my inclusion and learning support managers. So he would be your first port of call. If your young person has an EHCP, we would either want to be invited into their annual review in year 11 or whatever their exit year is from school. Schools can contact us directly. In the main, our learners would be coming from specialist provision. But if your young person is in a regular secondary setting and there are some complexities, please contact Tom anyway, and we would work with you on where an appropriate place might be. If it's not us, we have a sister provision which is called the Young People's College, and that's a much more conventional gateway into the college. That's for young people in the main who have been in a
Sarah. Hmm. Oh, sorry about this, everybody. Let's just give it a minute and see if Sarah comes back to us. I'm just going to message her. And I think, oh, oh, she's gone totally. Right, let's just give it a few minutes and see if she comes. Oh, she has messaged me to say the internet has gone and to bear with. So she will hopefully be back to us. Um, if Sarah can't return, please continue to put your questions in the chat, because what I will do is make sure that she the questions get to her, and then she can answer them in writing, or we'll figure out a way and make sure that you get your responses. So do please keep asking questions. Um, Yeah, so I'm having a look at them myself to see if there's anything that I can support with. Um so Gary, my understanding is the young person's college at Sheffield College is, I believe, the offer they have at their Hillsborough campus, which is, I suppose, I mean, I'm describing it, don't take my word for it totally, but a sort of bridge between um or a step before entering the main college. So maybe young people who've been out of education or have certain needs or complexities where just going straight into the college wouldn't work onto like a vocational program. So I believe it's a sort of a bridging kind of curriculum that they offer. That's my understanding of what it is. Um, so separate to the Bloom offer, which is specifically at Peaks campus. Um, Gillian, I'm just looking at your questions about what about a child attending a mainstream school with an IR. I mean, I think from my understanding is that they're, you know, a young person can come from any type of provision before attending Sheffield College, the Bloom curriculum at Sheffield College. I think it's just dependent on whether it's the right fit. So I think that would be absolutely fine. Um, Sarah, I feel like I need Sarah to answer some of these more specific questions. So let's just give it a few more minutes and see if she comes back. Um, and hopefully she can answer these questions for you in person. If not, we will arrange to have them answered. Oh, I can see her name on the screen.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. Sarah, I've tried to describe what I understand the young person's college. Is it young person's college? But I
I'm
don't know that I,
sorry.
yes, can you hear me, Sarah?
Yes.
Yes. So uh, we've got a few questions. Gary had asked about what is the young people's college? Could you explain that again? And just because I've tried to explain it, but I'm not sure I've done a very good job of that.
Yeah. So the Young People's College, there's a few routes within it. We've got foundation studies, which is for students who've probably not really had a very positive or successful time in a mainstream secondary. We also offer the King's Trust. That's for young people who are a bit confused and still working on polishing some of their behaviours. That's a short program that then enables people to step back into education. And then the Young People's College, we've got a few specific routes into industries. So there's one into construction, there's one into health and social care, one into hair and beauty. The group sizes tend to be a little bit bigger than in Bloom, and the learners are not quite as complex as in Bloom. Often we'll have young people who have had education other than at school, so EOTAS packages, or they will have been electively home educated. The majority of them will study English and maths because that's one of the unlocking factors for their progression route into their kind of main study. So it's run by Rachel Dickens. The curriculum offer is across the city campus and some small provision at Hillsborough. But again, if people are interested and they drop Tom an email and explain that, Tom will be able to refer on and forward people to the most appropriate inclusion and learning support manager. So Gillian's asked, what about children attending mainstream school with an IR? It depends very much on the needs of the children and why they are in the IR as to what our advice and guidance would be. So I think, again, the best thing to do is contact us. The Peaks campus is quite small. We've got about maybe 150 young people accessing the campus at any time. We work in partnership with two schools So we've got some provision from Talbot School and some provision from Seven Hills School here. But it depends on the reason somebody's in an IR or an inclusion unit. So it's difficult to answer because obviously every young person is unique. So yeah. Gary, they are all inclusion, but the inclusion curriculum is split into two distinct parts. So, but again, we interview, and quite often Rachel's team might identify that young person might be more suited to Bloom, particularly just in the first year, or we might interview somebody and recognise that actually they'd be much better placed in the Young People's College curriculum. So there's lots of flexibility. It's not a kind of a binary, you start this, you've got to stay there. There is kind of lots of flexibility. And the college has an approach of kind of swap, don't drop. So if a young person is placed with us and they feel they're not in the right place, then we would work really hard with them and their circle of support to make sure that they're able to kind of have the right offer. Amy's asking if there's an age limit. So if you are under 19, no, you don't need an EHCP. If you're over 19, you need to have an EHCP. And that's outside my control, unfortunately. If you're over 19 and you don't have an EHCP, we have no way of funding your education package. So yeah, that's unfortunately a real challenge for us.
Sarah, I'm going to jump back
any.
to, yeah, I was just going to jump back. So Gillian had said, my child is autistic with an EHCP, probably won't attain GCSEs. They are doing performing arts and caterings, as enjoys these, not good at social interactions with peers and independent skills. Just having travel training, what would their options be? We have visited Sheaf Training, who said they transition students from them to the Sheffield College. Thanks.
They definitely do. We work the team at Sheaf to make sure again that our offers are complementary and that we're not kind of duplicating or both trying to meet the needs of the same cohort. It's really difficult to explain the options because it's based on what your young person is interested in. So the options are to come along, to have an assessment, to visit us, to see whether they think, yeah, I could be here and be happy and be safe and engage. In my experience, and Gillian, please don't make a judgment, but I am old and I've been doing this for a really long time. If we can get the basics right of people feeling comfortable and safe in the environment and listened to by staff and the decision maker in their own right, we tend to find that the social interaction challenges reduce. They don't go, but they reduce. And that we're then able to start working on things like developing suitable friendships, which can unlock lots of other bits of progression. From a careers advice and guidance point of view, particularly in my experience for those of us who are autistic, it's really hard to look into the future and have a concept of what you want to do because you've never experienced it. So why would you know? So there's quite a lot of conversations and quite a lot of careers advice and guidance that needs to happen, and people need to be given an opportunity to kind of taste it and experience it. And in my experience, quite often that's swiftly ruling things out, not ruling things in. So my best examples are, no thanks, I'm all right, I can't do that. So it's those bits of the world that we try and enable people to experience so that they are then able to make an informed choice. I know that sounds like I'm not giving you an answer, Gillian, but that's probably because I'm not. So I'm really sorry.
Thanks,
Again,
Sarah.
applying for the Young People's College, Gary, what you would do is make an application through Sheffield Progress or directly through the website. And then that would be fielded through the application team. So.
And Sarah, we had a question from Sarah, which was what support is available for students with learning difficulties, maths, and also having English writing and communication issues?
So, Maria, sorry, you cut out. What support is available?
Yeah, what support is available for students with learning difficulties, maths, and also having English writing and communication issues?
So we employ what would the SEN Code of Practice call a graduated response. So exactly the same as teaching and learning should be. We have a quality first teaching approach, which is that teachers are supported to know and understand the needs of their learners and therefore adjust classroom practice. So, for example, we're just doing some training on embedding brain breaks into activities and also into kind of creating low arousal and safe spaces in teaching spaces. So some quite generic stuff that's available to everybody. We would then have, so for example, if a young person has an EHCP, we might excuse them from studying maths or English in their first year with us so they can focus on the other one. We might put in-class support in place, or we might have a specific assessment around exam access arrangements so that they have a normal way of working, which is, for example, they might need 25% extra time, so we'd work out how to implement that. So it's a real range, and again, it's based on individual need, not on we do this for these young people with this diagnosis. It's based on our assessment of that need. Support tends to change over time as independence grows and as confidence grows. But the exam access arrangement assessments would be in place, and then any assessments would be implemented. So that's English, maths. We use technology quite a lot. So for example, we've got some software in the college where in an English exam, for example, in the comprehension part of a GCSE, you wouldn't be able to use technology for the reading. You wouldn't be able to have a human reader, but you can use technology to read the exam paper to you or the source material to you. So we try and make the best use of technology. We don't often do full dyslexia assessments on students, but we do have the capacity in our team to do that. And somebody's asked, do we have in-house expertise? Yes. Yeah, we do. So we work from a trauma-informed model across the organisation. Every member of staff has attachment awareness training. We have just completed the basics of autism training for neurodiversity. So we're just about to launch that. So all staff will go through the neurodiversity development teams training sessions. We've got specialists in every learning difficulty disability. And then we've got researchers who have particular interests in, so I've just been doing some research on ARFID and restricted eating, so the impact of that on learning. We also have, expertise around pathological demand avoidance, oppositional defiance, Tourette's, Prader-Willi syndrome, double XY deletion syndrome, and everything else that can come to us in the spectrum of our learners' needs. So we're not experts in everything, but if we're not, we do have access to a person who is an expert because that's the learner. So they are the expert in themselves, and we need to use their voice to inform what we do. So yeah. I don't
Thanks,
know whether
Sarah.
I've caught everything that's in the chat already.
There's just one question
I don't
from
know if I've missed anything,
Rebecca.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Are there any limitations in terms of who can apply for these courses? For example, if you had a non-verbal individual who's intellectually and cognitively limited to that of a 3-year-old, would there be a course they could access, or would their need of support be too great to access Bloom?
So we don't offer courses.
Yeah.
I know it's a difficult concept to gather, but we offer personalised learning. And I would say in that particular scenario, it would be very challenging because we don't have any other learners who present to us currently with that profile. And what you really want is classrooms to have like-minded individuals where teachers can use a variety of strategies. So cognitive impairment wise, we have a range of young people who we work with, and their cognitive impairments have a range of impacts. We would always be working, or the majority of our young people would be deemed as having mental capacity, and I think the young person you're describing in that scenario would not have mental capacity. So in the main, our learners would have mental capacity.
Thanks, Sarah.
So hopefully that answers.
Yeah, I think so. Marie's asked, are there young people college courses at City College, and can young person apply for interest-based courses if they don't gain GCSE grades at exams in year 11? And is the SEN
Yes.
provision similar to Bloom?
No.
No.
So all of our provision is inclusive, whether that's an A-level programme, whether it's a level 3 T level in engineering, our teaching, learning and assessment practices as a whole organisation are inclusive. So that's the first bit. We don't have SEN provision. We have a specialist provision, which is Bloom, and then the Young People's College. So many of my young people this year will leave Bloom and progress on to the Young People's College because they want exactly what you're describing. They want to be able to take part in those interest-related courses because they think they want a career in whatever that industry is. So they can apply and go off and do that. And again, the application process would be pretty similar. One of the huge challenges, particularly around Young People's College, is they have limited numbers of spaces and masses of interest. So I don't know, I can't give you a guarantee that if you were to apply at this point in the year, you would even get an interview because the interest has been huge. And that goes back to some of the national research and the local research that we've done around the needs in Sheffield and that real huge number of young people who are at risk of becoming NEET. So that's the best provision really for them.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah.
So Gillian's asking
so Gillian's asked, what are the best next steps to make in order to get the right setting? My child is in year 10. And actually, Sarah, to wrap up this session, and this kind of covers really what Gillian's asking, as someone who has been in this FE specialist space for 100 years, or a long time, as you say, we know, and you know very well what an anxiety driven experience moment it can be in families' lives. And I suppose, do you have any parting words or messages for parents like Gillian who have a young person in year 10 who are trying to figure out what the next best steps are? What are your words of wisdom for some, for parents who might be feeling worried right now?
well, the first one I think is having done this for 30 years, not quite 100, but definitely 30 years. In the majority of scenarios, young people end up being fine. So be reassured that this is not a binary, it's this or it's that. There are really flexible providers out there. I work alongside all of the flexible providers across Sheffield. There are lots and lots of excellent provision. And the thing that really heartens me is that the vast majority of people I work alongside have exactly the same heart and exactly the same as intent as I do, which is gloriously boring lives based in choice. It's nothing more difficult. I think also there is an inevitability, and I think what can happen is that really heightens parents and carers' anxiety. So I think find the right people to ask the right questions, and don't always expect a conventional answer because just the language and the information in the chat, if you go back and read it, there to be a course. These young people are unique. This is not level 2 plumbing. This is a unique and bespoke solution to enable that young person to thrive and make choices. So there are options out there. And I think year 10 is a particularly important transition year. So if somebody has an EHCP, their EHCP outcomes need to be really closely detailed and aligned to their preparation for adulthood aspirations. Their EHCP is the lever in lots of these cases. So what does their EHCP say? If it says they'll be able to socialise by the time they're 17, it's not right. I'm 55, still can't do it, don't want to do it, and most importantly, don't need to do it. So my outcomes have been defunct for 30 years. So what does your young person want to feel in their gloriously boring life? Do they want to feel independence? And by independence, I don't mean living alone, because none of us live alone. So it's those things. So I think as parents and carers, it's be heartened that you know your young person better than anybody else. Don't have an adversarial relationship with anybody because we always catch more with honey than we do with vinegar. Get some really good advice about the content of the EHCP so that the EHCP is representative of that young person. I think that can be very challenging because I think we often get conflicting advice because the EHCP needs to be a representation of Sarah LeGood on her worst possible day when she's got the wrong shoes on and therefore can't speak. Well, what about Sarah LeGood on her best day when she's wearing the best shoes and she can literally take over the world? And it's very much that balance. That's what I would appeal to you as parents to be able to look for the balance of your young person. Often when we're consulted, we consult based just on a plan, and that's not a real person. And if the plan's been written from that very deficit lens of everything that I can't do, it's going to be really tricky. So again, it's that balance. Don't be afraid of contacting organisations and speaking to people directly, and don't assume that somebody else is going to do it on your behalf. Don't assume, ask for us to be invited to a year 10 annual review or a year 11 annual review. That would be my advice. But hold on, because it'll all be fine.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'm going to ask you the same question again, but this time for any young people that might be listening, what would be your message for them?
I think my message to them would be, you know yourself better than anybody else, and therefore you really need to have a way of communicating that. And if conventional verbal communication is not for you, then go and Google what a one-page profile is and actually get yourself a really cracking one-page profile that shows the world who you are, and it tells them what you do at your absolute best, and it tells them what you might look like at your absolute worst. And that then enables people to know how they need to flex to meet your needs, because there is nothing wrong with you. You are perfect and unique as you are. The world should flex around you. And if nothing else, any parent and carer and any young person and any professional in this call that doesn't know and can't tell me what the social model of disability is, you need to go and Google it. Go on YouTube and watch a 3-minute video to learn what the social model of disability is, because it will change your world if you don't already know it. And that's what we all need to do as a humanity. We need to have the social model of disability at our heart. There you
Thank
go.
you,
That's my
Sarah.
evangelical bit, Maria. I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's like always a pleasure to hear you speak about this, because I know how much the young people mean to you, and kind of the amazing work that you've done at the Peaks campus at Sheffield College, and like just the huge change that's happened because of us being lucky to have you in the city. So no, thank you so much. And Gillian said your words just made so much sense to me as a parent of two autistic and ADHD young people. Thank you. So thank you, Sarah. I think we've probably missed and don't have, there's probably a couple more questions in the chat. I will make sure to go through them, and anything that we've not answered, I will get an answer for you. But
Yep.
Sarah, thank you so very much for giving up your time. And thank you for everyone for persisting despite the tech issues that we've had this
I'm
afternoon.
so sorry.
Oh, don't worry, it's been absolutely fine. We got there in the end. And there is a
Yeah.
form that I've just posted in the chat. Please, 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 can you share your feedback? Because that feedback means that we can do more of these sessions. Um, everything that we do, we've got to prove it's having some kind of impact. So please share your thoughts and also ideas for who else we can invite. I'll also send I'm also posting just a couple of other links before everybody goes, where you can access the recordings of all the previous events.